Are the Pittsburgh Penguins a good trade partner for the Buffalo Sabres? Well, Elliot Friedman seems to think so. So let's look at it. Who could make sense on the Penguin side for the Sabres, and who would make sense for the Sabres side for the Penguins? Plus, recap or a preview, I should say, of Sabres and Flames coming up on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
You're Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody, and thanks for making this edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to check us out on our YouTube channel where you can watch the show, like and subscribe, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. It is a Sabres game night tonight. The Sabres and the Flames in Calgary. Sabres after dark, 9 o'clock puck drop. We'll talk about the game a little bit later on in today's show. Look at what the lineup's going to look like. I got a sneaky bet of the night for this game. What's going on with Calgary on the season? As they are having a fine season. They're battling with the Sabres opponent from the other night, Vancouver, for one of those final playoff spots at the moment. If you would like to hit us up on our text club, you could do that. Join subtext.com/LockedOnSabres is the place to sign up. We were talking in the chat today about today's topic, trading with the Pittsburgh Penguins and whether or not that is a realistic option. So we'll get into that, why we're bringing that up in the first place. A lot to get to on today's show. You can follow me on Twitter at Sneaky Joe Sports, Blue Sky at Sneaky Joe. The podcast account as well is at Locked On Sabres. So it's a Bills game week, by the way. So, you know, hockey will be the full attention of sports fans, Buffalo sports fans. Hopefully not for a few more weeks. Hopefully it's going to be Bills talk for a couple of more weeks among most fans. But hey, if maybe the Sabres can capitalize on the energy. I mean, 2 weeks of if the Bills win on Sunday in Kansas City, you got 2 weeks off with a lot of pent up energy sports wise, and maybe you go to a Sabre game here and there, or maybe you just go to the Bandits because those games have a little more energy right now anyway. So let's get to why we are spending today on Pittsburgh. Sabres don't play the Penguins. I don't think play the Penguins for a while coming up. So why are we talking about Pittsburgh today? Well, the reason we are is because of Elliot Friedman, the lead insider in the sport. He does his weekly blog, daily blog sometimes, 32 Thoughts, where he tells you what I'm hearing in league circles. And he's the most plugged in guy, so oftentimes he is very trustworthy on this front. And even out of the 32 Thoughts, it's not that often that one of those involves the Buffalo Sabres, especially one that's about a trade. We've had Friedman talking about Dylan Cousins and the Red Wings this year, Bo Byram wanting to be a number one defenseman. He made up that Pettersson for Cousins and Byram mock trade. So, Friedman's given us a little bit to chew on this year, but he's got something else for us. Here's his number 11 thought on yesterday's 32 Thoughts. Quote, with all the noise around the Penguins, I believe they have interest in some of Buffalo's younger NHL-ready prospects. It fits what they want. So that's where our launch point is on today's show, is that the Pittsburgh Penguins and the idea that they are not only like, it doesn't just make sense that the Sabres make a good partner for what they want. It's Friedman saying, oh no, they have it interest in Buffalo's guys. Now, let's figure out who that means. NHL-ready prospects, younger NHL-ready prospects, and then we'll try to figure out what is worthwhile from a Sabre perspective off the Penguins roster. Because ideally, if you're getting younger prospects, but that are NHL ready, the Sabres are going to want veterans that are good right now. And, who are the names that are going through your mind right now when I say that? It's Well, who are their good players that are veterans? That's Sidney Crosby, and not doing that. Can't get that. Evgeny Malkin, can't get that. Erik Karlsson, can't get that, and I imagine most fans wouldn't want that. He's kind of another version of what the Sabres have. Chris Letang, same thing. Like, those are their big four. Who else is good on the Penguins? I've got a couple of answers on that front to get to, but let's first tackle the original question, which is, who does Friedman mean? Who do the Penguins mean when it comes to younger NHL-ready prospects? Now, the Sabres have a couple of prospects that are on the team right now, and that's what I think Pittsburgh is interested in. Pittsburgh, I believe, is interested in, just by that description, this is not to mean the Sabres would move these guys. This is what the Penguins, I would imagine, to get educated guess, would be asking for. And then the Sabres would try to talk them down to somebody else. The guys I would bet the Penguins are asking about are Zach Benson, number 1, and Jiri Kulich, number 2. And we'll get to Kulich. I actually am watching Kulich for tonight's game. He's the player we'll be locked in on. But let's start with Zach Benson, who in the last month is statistically the Sabres' best player when it comes to shot attempts when he's on the ice, scoring chances when he's on the ice. His individual expected goals in the last month is higher than any other Buffalo Sabres, given the amount of chances he gets. He is a very good defensive player. I actually have liked him more in the last couple of weeks when it comes to offensive ability, and I feel like he's growing a little bit in that department. He still needs to get more physical to become all the way there. But Benson, to me, for anything on the Penguins roster, assuming none of those top dogs are available, is a no-go, non-starter for me with Zach Benson. He is somebody that he would one of the least favorite ideas when it comes to a trade off the Buffalo Sabres. Now, if you're talking about a big mega deal where you're getting Elias Pettersson or Mitch Marner with a contract, somebody like that, okay, I'm willing to move Zach Benson. But if I'm trading him for your second line 20 goal scorer at 30 years old, I'm not doing that. That is not what I'm trading Zach Benson for if I'm ever listening on a Zach Benson idea. Kulich, a little bit more. And I've liked Kulich recently. I still think Benson outranks him. But Kulich right now, the tough part about the idea of moving him would be, well, he's playing center right now and kind of thin at center here in Buffalo. If Thompson's playing wing, which he has been recently, and Cousins can't get back to form where he was 2 years ago, I'm kind of out of centerman. Ryan McLeod then. And I don't want him in the top 6, ideally. So you kind of want Kulich around. You've already traded one young center off your roster in Matthew Savoy. Trading 2 doesn't sound all that appetizing. So those would be the guys I think you're asking about if you're Pittsburgh. If I'm Kevin Adams, the guys that I'm trying to talk them down into, of course, would be Noah Ostlund and, to a lesser extent, Isak Rozan. I don't think you're getting the Penguins on the hook for either one of those two. And I don't think those would qualify as the NHL-ready prospects that they would be talking about. So, kind of stuck, right? Kind of stuck. I don't know if you're going to find the right piece here unless it's Kulich. Unless you want to move Kulich right here, right now, I think he's the name for this. And I don't love that idea, as I've previously mentioned. The one other name they could mean, because, listen, on other NHL teams, this guy's a prospect still. On the Sabres, he's not, and that's J.J. Peterka. J.J. Peterka, or even Jack Quinn, I guess. But Peterka seems to have more value at this moment. Peterka is at a young enough age and hasn't done enough yet in the league where he might get considered that in the Penguins' eyes, because to the Penguins, 23 years old on a rookie contract, that's a prospect in Pittsburgh land. Here, it's not, because it's year 3. So Peterka maybe, but same thing. Like, I'm not seeing a player on the Penguins roster that equates to J.J. Peterka. So why don't we try it the other approach? Let's look at the Penguins roster, and then we'll work our way back to the Sabre young guys and figure out if there's a deal that can be made here. That's when we return here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. New customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is super easy to navigate. There is a variety of bets, keeping every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no waiting around for your winnings, whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs. FanDuel has you covered. FanDuel, what I like too, they very often will offer you a nice cash out option. Not everybody will offer you a cash out. It'll just say cash out unavailable. And that happens too on FanDuel, but much more regularity that they're going to give you an option. Play a little deal or no deal, if you will, on the app. Just visit FanDuel.com, join today, get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. Back here on Locked On Sabres, it is a Thursday edition of the show. Sneaky Joe DiBiase, Sabres and Flames tonight. The Sabres and the Penguins could be an interesting trade partner. Elliot Friedman says he believes the Penguins are interested in some of the younger NHL-ready prospects. So, what do the Penguins have to offer that could interest the Buffalo Sabres that aren't the superstar players at the top of their lineup? There are a couple of names that this could fit for. Let's start with the guy that is number 2 on the Penguins in scoring this year with 23 goals and 40 points in 48 games. So about a 60-point pace and about a 30 to 35 goal pace on the year. And that is Rickard Rakell. Rickard Rakell, not a bad idea for the Buffalo Sabres. To me, feels like the most appropriate idea for the Buffalo Sabres. He is from Sweden, so I don't know, Rasmus Dahlin, work your recruiting magic, if you even know him. And Rakell is a guy that's had this year a lot, where he's getting 60 points and 20-plus goals on the year. This year, he's on track again to get to 30. Last year was a little bit of a down year. He's 31, by the way, if you're wondering the age. Last year, a little bit of a down year, 15 goals, 37 points in 70 games played. The year prior in Pittsburgh, 28 goals and 60 points. He has had up and down 40 points, 60 points, 50 points. Like, that's kind of been him throughout his career, and this year might be approaching a career high when you look at what the numbers are going to end up with. And he's a goal scorer. He's a very good goal scorer. He's got a very good shot. He's got an 11% shooting percentage for his career. This year, sure, it's a little higher than you'd expect it to maintain at. He's at 18.9%. You're going to see some regression. I think he is more of a 20, 25 goal scorer at this point in his career rather than the 30 to 35 that he's currently on pace for. And if you look at who he's been playing with on the year, well, right now, Rakell is on the Crosby line with Crosby and Brian Rust. That's helping a lot, but he is proving his ability to score on that line. And listen, I could have said that about Jason Zucker before the year. In fact, I probably did, which was, he scored 27 goals for the Penguins a couple years ago, but he played with Crosby, so anybody would score 27, right? Well, Zucker has come here and done it without Crosby. And Rakell would be the same idea. He's going to come here and do it without Crosby. Rakell has, after this season, 3 more years at $5 million per year. He does have a modified no trade clause, but it's only an 8-team list. So, little less trade protection. Yes, I'd expect the Sabres to be on that list, but again, maybe you could work some recruiting magic. Maybe somebody on the team knows him, and you could figure out a way to get him in the door if you wanted to work out the compensation for it. So Rakell, to me, is idea number 1. Is he worth Zach Benson? No, not at all. Is he worth Jiri Kulich? I think I'd still lean no, but it's not as offensive to me. It's closer to the value of the McLeod for Savoy trade. It would be, I think you probably gave up more value in the deal, but I get why you did it. That was the McLeod trade, right? And that's what Kulich for Rakell would be to me. If they could get the Penguins sold on Isak Rosen, who's having a really good season in the AHL, and throw in a pick somehow, like that's the dream trade for me in a Rakell idea. I just don't think it's all that likely that you're getting them to be excited about Isak Rozan 4 years after he was drafted in the first round. The other names that this could be, Brian Rust, 32 years old, 1 year older on the year. He has also 3 years left on his deal, $5.125 million. The problem with Rust is he has a full no movement clause. So I don't think it's super likely that he would want to accept a trade here, but I guess you could say the same thing. Work your magic recruiting. Maybe somebody knows him on the team. Alex Tuck, maybe, I don't know, with USA Hockey, World Championships. Somebody knows Rust from somewhere. Maybe you work that. Rust, in his last couple of seasons, he has scored 20 goals or more 5 years in a row. This year, he's at 19 in 42 games, so he's going to do that for a 6th consecutive season. Same thing. He's playing with Crosby for much of this time, and that helps a lot. But good finisher, good, I would say, energy guy, smaller, but in on the forecheck, defensively responsible. I think you could get some solid production out of Brian Rust if you were to bring him in. But him being 32, about to be 33, Rakell is a better idea to me. I'm certainly not giving up Jiri Kulich for Brian Rust. I'm definitely not doing that at this point in his career. And then beyond that, Michael Bunting, no, right? Kevin Hayes, no. Cody Glass, no. If on the blue line, Marcus Pettersson, he's a UFA, though, at the end of the year, so I don't love that. Matt Grzelcyk, same thing, UFA at the end of the year. Like, it's tough to find another guy. The Sabres would want a big defenseman, physical defenseman, if that's what they were going to do. And the guys that Pittsburgh has in that front are about to be free agents. So I don't really think that fits. I think Rakell is the most likely idea for the Sabres if they were going to make a move, and the Penguins wanted a young guy in return. The value is the closest with him than I think it is with anybody. So, Kulich for Rakell. You like it? You hate it? You love it? Let me know what you think. I am going to go with I slightly dislike. I don't know that I would do it, but again, I would completely understand, and it wouldn't be ridiculous to me if Kevin Adams were to do it. When we come back, Sabres and Flames tonight. Let's talk about tonight's matchup, 9 o'clock, and my sneaky good bet of the night all ahead here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Tonight's episode, or this episode of Locked On Sabres, presented by Gametime. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, comedy. One of the favorite memories, attending a event this year, went to a hockey game, and I thought I had tickets, and I realized that I didn't. It was for tickets for another night, and I'm in front of the arena. I just go on the Gametime app. It is minutes before puck drop, and bam, 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 3 clicks. I've got tickets in my phone at a good price because they're available right up to puck drop or kickoff, sometimes even a few minutes after the game has begun. So you get some great deals last minute if you want it, and you get your tickets immediately. So check out Gametime. Gametime Picks is available to you. This feature filters out all the fluff. Make sure you only see incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. Final segment here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, the Sabres and the Flames tonight. Calgary has great lighting in their arena. If you don't believe me, keep an eye on it for tonight. The Saddle Dome, right? If you look at photos of the games after in Calgary, you are going to notice it, I think. Also, my take on this, on uniforms in the NHL, I believe the number one jersey matchup in hockey, and there are hundreds, thousands of potential uniform battles, uniform matchups in the NHL. I believe the number one uniform battle is the bright red Flames home uniforms against the away blue and gold Buffalo Sabre uniforms. That is the GOAT uniform matchup in the sport. It is so, so good. Maybe there's a Montreal home versus Toronto away or somebody like that that's classic. I love the Calgary versus Buffalo look. I love the bright red. I love the bright royal blue. They've both really returned to the right color schemes. I hope that's what we get tonight, jersey-wise, and I bet we probably will. For the game itself, Sabres are running back the same lineup. 11 forwards, 7 defensemen is what it looks like we're going to have, with Dennis Gilbert remaining in the lineup, despite the fact, in my opinion, he had a horrible game the other night, played less than 10 minutes. But okay, Dennis Gilbert remains in the lineup. We'll see which forward stays out. It had been Nicholas Aube-Kubel in the last game. Tyson Kozak played on line 2. It looks like Aube-Kubel might be the odd man out again. Jason Zucker still out, dealing with an illness that's been passed around throughout the team, and Zucker is looking like he's going to miss his second game in a row. For what we are going to get in terms of the Flames, as we've mentioned, are a playoff team right now. They are in a wild card position. They are going to be starting Dustin Wolf tonight. Young stud goaltender Dustin Wolf, who is often ranked right there with Devin Levi and Yaroslav Askarov as like the best 3 goalie prospects in the world, all 23 years old. They're all the same age. Wolf's having a good year. He's having a much better year in the NHL than Levi was. Wolf in 25 starts, 16-7, 16-7-2 is the record, a .917 save percentage, a 60% quality start mark. Like, he's been very good this year, Dustin Wolf has. 9 o'clock puck drop. I got my sneaky good bet for tonight's game. Before we get to that, though, I'm going to tell you, and this is where the bet revolves around, who I am locked in on for tonight's game against the Flames, Jiri Kulich, because he's going back and staying, I should say, at number 1 center. He will be between J.J. Peterka and Tage Thompson again. Kulich this year, 5th in the NHL in goals scored by rookies with 8. And in the last 6 of his 8 are in the last 16 games. Last 16 games played, Kulich has scored 6 goals, 4 assists, a 20.6 shooting percentage. And with Thompson on the wing, Cousins struggling, and McLeod out, Kulich, hitting the ground running here as a rookie is very important. And I hope that he's going to continue the play that he's seen in the last couple of games. So Kulich goes back to center, and he is going to be who the bet is about tonight. The sneaky good bet of the night is Jiri Kulich to score a goal. Plus 390, centering the top line. I like that a lot. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Sabres ahead of him. So of all the Sabres in the top 6, the number 1 center has the 6th longest odds to score a goal. He's behind at plus 400, by the way, Kulich's at. He's behind Jack Quinn and Dylan Cousins at plus 330. He's behind J.J. Peterka plus 270, Alex Tuck at plus 270, and Tage Thompson at plus 175. I like the odds. I'm going to go Kulich at plus 400 to score a goal in this game. And that's going to do it for us today in the Locked On Sabres podcast. You want some Bills talk, as I could completely understand. Joe Marino, Locked On Bills, got you covered. Check him out wherever you get your podcasts. Steal and Flip got you covered on Locked On Fantasy Hockey if you're looking for all your tips and tricks throughout the week. We'll talk to you tomorrow here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.